Over the past few years, I've finally been able to build the physique that I've always wanted. If I could go back and give myself the same advice that's helped over 140 men fix their skinny fat physique, this is what I'd say. Number one, pick one goal at a time. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, chase two rabbits and you'll catch neither one. And over the past 10 years of helping skinny fat men, I've realized that if you try and do everything at once, you're gonna get nothing done. Back in the day, I used to think, okay, let's try and get bigger, stronger, leaner, add muscle, get shredded, get abs. And because I was trying to do everything at once, there was no clear plan, there was no clear strategy, and I ended up just looking the same for the past 6 years. Although I got a little bit fitter and I enjoyed the gym and I got a little bit stronger, I didn't really look any different. And if you're starting with a skinny fat physique, you need to be a lot more precise. So pick one goal at a time to focus on, and you'll definitely start to see faster results. Number two, get lean first. First thing I did was jump on a huge bulk and try to gain loads of muscle, and I ended up just gaining loads of body fat and realizing all the areas that I didn't like my double chin, my lower back, my side boob, and a little bit of the lower belly, was only going to get worse throughout that bulk. And then by the end of the bulk, I've got this now huge mammoth of a cut that's waiting for me that I just don't want to do. So you end up kind of procrastinating and putting it off, and eventually you reluctantly start that long ass diet you've been kicking down the road, which means you've got to spend even longer in a calorie deficit to lose all the fat you've added that you didn't need to add in the first place. And by the end of it, you're quite likely to lose muscle, which is exactly what I've done. And I didn't learn from that mistake. I did this twice. And after working with hundreds and hundreds of skinny fat men, I always find that 9 times out of 10, they're better off starting with a cut, because you get a leaner foundation first, which gives you room to start lean bulking. And that way, by the end of the lean bulk, you're still relatively lean. You're not making all those areas you dislike look worse. And if you do things right, you can actually gain a significant amount of muscle in a calorie deficit, just like my client Reese did here, which was entirely achieved in a calorie deficit. Number three, don't focus on the scale weight and body fat percentage. One of the first things people say to me is, hey dude, I want to get to 8% body fat, 10% body fat, what's the quickest way? And a lot of the times they imagine themselves looking a certain way at this percentage of body fat, or imagining how they would look at a certain weight on the scales. Now, I actually made this mistake. When I first started, I weighed 120 pounds, which is very, very light. And I eventually got to 160 pounds, which made me look a lot bigger and a lot stronger. But I thought, man, what would I look like at 180 pounds? And I became absolutely obsessed with chasing this number. I was smashing the calories, I was eating as much as I can, I was lifting the weights like crazy. I was super on it, super consistent, and I eventually hit my target of 180 pounds. I stepped on the scales, I saw the 180 pounds, I thought, yes, finally done it. But when I looked in the mirror, I hated what I saw. I basically just got fat in aid of getting to that physique. It wasn't the number that I actually cared about, it was how I thought I was going to look at that number. So instead of idolizing a number and obsessing about it, think about how you want to look and measure your progress by how close you get towards that goal, rather than the numbers on the scales or what body fat percentage you are. Also, as a side note, body fat percentages look different on different people. One of my friends had 4% lower than me and he still had a belly, and I still had abs, but I had chubby arms and he had shredded arms. So we're all different. Focus on what you want to look like and feel like rather than the numbers. Number four, and this one's really important, I've kind of touched on this already. Slow lean gains are better than fast fat gains. And what I mean by this is a lot of men jump on the dirty bulk, and I'm definitely guilty of this, and I've probably done about 3 in my time. And although it's a lot of fun because there's less accountability with the food, you just eat what you want, you do more damage than you think, and a lot of times you're just gaining more body fat than you think. The last 2 dirty bulks that I did, I basically just got fat, I got lazy, I used everything as an excuse. I would go to McDonald's, KFC, drink milkshakes and go, yeah, I'm bulking bro, I'm bulking, it's fine. And then by the end of it, I had more than one chin, I had some side boobs, and I didn't want to take my shirt off anymore. And I had this rude awakening when I went on holiday, took my shirt off and realized I want to put it back on. Now, I'm not saying never do a dirty bulk, because if you're absolutely skin and bone, it might be a bit fun. It might actually help you get your calories to where they should be, but it's definitely not the best way to go about it. I now spend the majority of the year focusing on a lean gaining phase for a lot longer than just doing a 3, 4, 5 month master bulk where you just eat anything and everything. If it's more sustainable, you're going to keep the body fat to a minimum, it's a lot healthier, and then all you need to do is a small mini cut and you're right back to being shredded, which means you can get back on that bulk and keep it lean and look good the whole time. Number 5, and this is a big one, avoid fads and trends. It's hard enough staying focused and motivated on your goals and trying to reach your goals for doing the hard work and sticking to a nutrition plan and a diet plan and training plan and whatever your strategy is, and then some magic little trend pops up or a little fad pops up, you think, maybe I should try that. If you keep jumping from fads to trends, you're going to get nowhere. You're going to keep stopping and starting, stopping and starting. You know, just because when your mates turns around and says, oh, I lost 5 kilos doing keto, mate, 9 times out of 10 they haven't done it long enough to get the result, and they've normally relapsed and fallen off because it's just not sustainable for them, and it probably isn't sustainable for you. You can't go wrong just managing your calories and getting those right, especially if you're skinny fat. You need to know those numbers properly, which moves me on to lesson number 6, and that is know your numbers properly. Now, if you're struggling with this, I do have a nutritional blueprint for free in the bio that will show you how to set those up. The reason this is the most important thing, and I almost put this at number 1, but it's kind of obvious to manage your calories, but this was the reason I got stuck for 6 years. I was in the gym lifting weights, I was eating chicken, broccoli and rice, downing gainer shakes, eating all the foods I was told, taking creatine, taking BCAAs, multivitamins, fish oils, CLAs, L-glutamine. I was taking the lot and I literally looked the same, as I will put on the screen. And the reason for this was I just wasn't eating enough calories to grow. And because of that, I didn't get anywhere. I felt good for training. I was healthier, I was fitter, and I was slightly stronger. But every time I saw someone, they didn't realize I was still going to the gym because I looked exactly the same, which caused me to be very frustrated. To be honest with you, 90% of the men that I speak to when they've hit a plateau, if we boil things down, their calories just aren't where they should be. If you get your calories right, you're going to guarantee your progress. There's no way around it. It's a mathematical equation. Once I started tracking my calories and got my numbers figured out, I was able to gain 40 pounds in 9 months lean muscle, purely because I was eating in a small surplus. I was hitting my calories, I was hitting my protein, and I was able to adjust those numbers as I progressed. So make sure you know your numbers. And if you leave the video after this, that's fine. That is the most important thing. However, make sure you stick around to the last lesson because that was one of the most important things I've ever learned. Now that kind of segues into lesson number 7, and that is track everything. Now, I'm not just talking about food, I'm talking about tracking your weigh-ins, your progress photos, your performance in the gym, meaning your reps and weight and volume, and your intensity, and most importantly, like I've already said, tracking your calories and macros. Now, this might sound like a lot, but this will save you years and years of guesswork, faffing about, jumping from trend to trend and not really know what you're doing. And if you're skinny fat, you need to get these numbers right. For example, if you're too low on your calories and you're trying to fix the skinny fat physique, you're going to lose muscle and go catabolic because you're not eating enough to sustain muscle tissue, and you're not eating enough to sustain the performance in the gym or your recovery. And because your calories are too low too soon, you're likely to binge and fall off. Whereas if your calories aren't low enough, you're probably going to maintain, you're not going to move forward, and if you're in a surplus, you'll probably gain some body fat if you're not training properly. So getting these numbers right is so important. I would recommend a 500 calorie deficit below your maintenance, because that is going to be about a pound per week, which is sustainable, easier to fit in with a flexible lifestyle, and very easy to adjust over time. And again, if you need help with those numbers, I do have a free guide in the bio. With the tracking the workouts, it's very important that you're monitoring your progress in the gym. If you go to the gym and do 4 sets of 10 on the bench press with 80 kilos, sure, it's going to work in the short term, but eventually your body's going to get used to it. And if you're not increasing the reps, if you're not increasing the weight, or even just improving your form, you're eventually going to plateau and your body's going to look the same. It's not quite as easy as just adding reps and weight forever. So eventually your body's going to plateau, and by tracking it, you will know what adjustments to make. This is one of the reasons myself and my clients get such faster results now, because again, I wasted so much time just going to the gym, winging it, hoping for the best, roughly paying attention. A couple of years down the line, still not getting anywhere. So know your numbers. If you want to avoid all the guesswork and hoping and praying for results, track everything and you won't go wrong. Now, number 8 is about reviewing what you've tracked. Now, it's all well and good tracking, but the tracking itself isn't going to get you the progress. It's about reviewing those numbers. For example, let's say you're on a calorie deficit and you're losing a pound per week, but now it starts to slow down and stop. Instead of just going, right, I'll reduce my calories, that's got to be it. You might start to lose muscle if you do that, which means your performance is going to drop, and again, not necessarily going to be the best for your physique. But if you've got everything tracked, you can review your workouts. Maybe you've plateaued in the gym and you're not training hard enough to push past those plateaus. Maybe you need to start adding a small amount of cardio to shave off the extra calories, eat more, do more. Or maybe it is your calories, maybe your macros aren't right. Maybe you need to lower your carbs, increase your protein to prevent any muscle loss. If you don't review anything, you're just going to go through the motions and eventually fall off, just like using an axe against a tree. Once it starts to get blunt, it's going to become ineffective and you're not even going to know until you stop and check it, just like your progress and your reviews. Once a week for myself and my clients, I go through every single thing they've tracked. We go through their food, their macros, their calories, their workouts, their progress photos, their weigh-ins. We cross-reference everything to make sure it's all supporting their results. And if something needs changing, it's very obvious and we can make that change quicker rather than later. Again, saving time, moving forward faster, and making sure that progress is a lot faster than it takes most people. Now, number 9 is quite an important thing to understand, but it will help you in terms of motivation, and that is you don't have forever to reach your goal physique, so try to avoid falling off. Back in the day, you know, I was kind of casual with it. You think, yeah, I'm getting there, I'll just keep going to the gym, and before I know it, I'll look jacked and shredded. You think 6 months, I'm gonna look amazing. Yeah, fantastic. A year goes by, you get to your next birthday and you realize, oh, it's been a year and I kind of look the same. That's fine, I'll just keep getting on with it, I'll get there. 2 years go by, I think I've gone backwards actually a bit because life's been busy and things get in the way. And it's just very easy to kind of be relaxed with it. There's no urgency with your training, you're just too calm. Let's be real, life is busy, life gets stressful, and there's a lot of distractions. So it's very easy to put things off every week and go, oh, I'll pick it up next Monday, or I'll wait until New Year's, or after the holiday I'll take it seriously. And if you stuck to any program long enough, anyone will tell you that it takes longer than you think, and it's not just going to be a few weeks, it's going to take months, if not years. And the less time you fall off, the quicker it's going to be. What I achieved in 7 years could have been done in 6 months if I got things right and didn't keep procrastinating and missing things and being too relaxed about it. For example, most people fall off on weekends. They get to the weekend, they've had a long week and think, fuck it, I'm just going to chill. I'll have the beers, I'll pick it back up Monday. But what they don't realize is they've just sabotaged the past 5 days of hard work on those 2 days on that weekend. And that's not to say you can't enjoy your weekends. You can absolutely be flexible, which is why I recommend you track, because you can fit things in and manage your numbers. But instead of hitting the fuck it button and letting yourself off, that's going to slow you down tremendously. In fact, I'm going to show you a client now on screen. It's my client Tom. He made some good progress in a decent amount of time, but it kind of slowed down a little bit because he was very relaxed with himself throughout the week and on the weekends, despite being very consistent. But he realized he wanted to get better results and he had a shorter time frame to do it. He had a holiday on the horizon in 12 weeks. So we really had to step things into gear. So he avoided the alcohol, and if he did, he tracked it so it was managed. He hit his calories, he trained harder, we reviewed everything, and he was able to bring in his abs just in time for his holiday in a quicker time frame. He achieved more in about 12 weeks than he did in the past few months, purely by avoiding falling off as often as possible. Now, of course, he had the accountability and support for me, which is why he was able to do it. Try and make sure you stay accountable to someone, or at least try and keep your word to yourself, and you don't keep falling off. Lesson number 10. This is kind of almost taboo to say, but don't do too much cardio. Now, one of the first mistakes I made when I was trying to get shredded and lean, I thought, right, I want to lose body fat, I want to get fitter, I want to get leaner and just look really good and keep my muscle. I immediately started dropping my weights down. I started doing lots and lots of cardio because that's what everyone thinks. You think fat loss, you think salads and cardio, and that's exactly what I did, which was a huge mistake. Because I prioritized doing cardio, my lifts started to go down, I started to lose strength, and I noticeably started getting weaker, I started to get smaller, I started to lose more muscle than fat in my calorie deficit because I was doing so much cardio. Now, cardio is absolutely fantastic. I'm not saying don't do it, and if you're trying to lose body fat and keep muscle, you should definitely add it to your program somewhere because it will improve your fitness and conditioning and help you manage those calories. But if you start doing 80% cardio, 20% resistance, you will lose fat, but you will lose muscle as well. And I've actually had a lot of clients start with me purely based on the fact they've done this. Even the other day, I had a call with someone that said they've been through that same thing. One of my long-term friends and long-term clients, Luke, took a small gap, focused for training for a marathon. He did the marathon very well, but he did lose muscle and gained a bit of body fat, which he was very confused by. So if you're skinny fat, don't do too much cardio. A small amount of cardio after your workouts, 10, 20 minutes, or on your rest day is great, but you shouldn't be skipping the gym and going for a run instead because you definitely won't keep your muscle and you definitely won't fix the skinny fat physique with that strategy. Now, number 11 is a bit of a tricky one, but I want to make sure I put this out there. Most advice is not suitable or helpful for skinny fat men. Now, that might sound a bit biased or one-sided, but in my experience, all the advice I got told when I first started my fitness journey wasn't really applicable for the goals that I had. The people that were telling me to avoid carbs were huge, massive dudes on steroids, and I'm this skinny little rake with a little belly, and they're saying, no more carbs, bro, no more this. Get on the exercise bike 50 minutes in the morning, start fasting, only drink water after 12 o'clock. All these little rules that when I followed made things worse. And now in hindsight, I look back, I realized they were just giving me generic advice because that's what they did. It's kind of the survivor's bias. It worked for them, so they think it works for everyone. They weren't trying to be malicious. They weren't a skinny fat guy to start with, so I wouldn't take advice from someone that hasn't achieved what you're trying to achieve. Now that leads me into number 12, beware of the swimmer's body fallacy. Now, if you don't know what that means, you can just Google it, or I might put an example up on the screen. But the swimmer's body fallacy, people that swim look really good, so people think that swimming makes you look good, but they swim because they're already built for it. Easy example to understand. It's kind of like all those girls you see on Instagram with a massive ass, and they're selling how to build a big ass program to all these girls. The fact of the matter is, these girls already have the ass, so now people ask them for advice, how do you build the ass? And the girls go, oh, I just did this, but they already had it. They don't know how to build an ass, they already had it. It's the same with men. A lot of men are already big, they're already jacked, they've got great genetics, amazing shoulders, amazing biceps, amazing chest. So all they need to do is a few pull-ups and dips and push-ups, and then they're going to turn around and tell you that's how they built their physique, which is true, that is how they did it. They're not trying to lie, but they already had the good genetics and the good foundation at the start. So if you follow their advice, you're not going to be able to build it. Make sure that if you're learning from someone, they've actually done what they're teaching you. I've got some friends that have amazing arms because of their genetics and they don't even train them. Whereas my arms are absolutely terrible and I have to train them like mad for them to slightly improve. We all have different genetics, and someone with good genetics is going to tell you what they did to build a muscle that they already had. So try and make sure that you're learning from people that have actually done what they're telling you to do. Otherwise, it's taking advice from someone that's won the lottery or taking the escalator, teaching you how to make money or to take the stairs. It's probably not going to work for you. Now, number 13 is something I've learned recently, and that is keep your training simple. Now, yes, training can get complicated and technical, and there's a lot of science to back up different training programs, and there might be a point in your training career where that might need to be something you need to look into. As someone that's helped hundreds and hundreds of men transform their body, I found that the basics work best if they're done properly. And what I mean by this is there's no point you trying to follow a crazy high volume routine that requires you to be in the gym for 2 hours because it's the most optimal if you've got a busy schedule and lots of responsibilities, because you're not going to be able to give that program the attention it deserves. Whereas if you went for something that's very simple, like a pull push legs, or if you're really busy, an upper body, lower body day, and give it your all and track everything and review it, then you're going to make more progress than someone that's trying to keep up with a 7-day a week, 8-phase program that they just can't stick to. Keeping your training simple allows you to focus on key overload metrics, which makes progressing a lot easier. You can slowly make it more complicated as you progress. So many people jump in that aren't even in the gym consistently asking for the most amazing training program. I even had a client join me and said, hey mate, The Rock has a training program. I want a training program, make it as complicated and as elite as possible. Now I sat down for about 2-3 hours, put this together for him, asked him a bunch of questions and built what I would say is the best program for him, of which he stuck to 0 days. He missed the first 3 days, and then the first workout he did, he half did, and then he started doing different workouts that weren't part of his plan. And needless to say, that didn't go very well for him. Now with myself, I used to train every muscle group 3 days a week because it was optimal for a natural lifter, and I was in the gym for a couple hours at a time, and it just took up a lot of my time in my life, and my recovery was very crap. So I started dialing things back down to the basics, and immediately I saw more strength gains, more muscle gains, and I was able to sustain my physique a lot easier. So sometimes less is more. You want to keep it simple, but the most important metric there is the effort going in, and make sure you track it so you can review it and overload it over time. Number 14, very, very important, this one. You need to have a strategy. Now, I've been in the fitness industry for at least 10 years now, so I've spoke to thousands of men about their struggles and what they're trying to do and where they're trying to get to. And whenever they break down their training program and then they tell me their goals, quite often the two don't align. Someone might say they want to lose body fat, get bigger and stronger, but they're doing star jumps and CrossFit, which means they're not going to reach their goal. Or they're just doing the same program over and over and over again. They've never reviewed it, they've never tweaked it because they don't have any strategy, they don't have any plan. Let's take a skinny fat physique, for example. The strategy I would employ for this, and which is what I've applied to my clients, is a 4-phase program. We'd start with a recomp to get lean and gain a bit of muscle and strength. We would then focus on an overload phase to build up their performance, their capacity, fitness and conditioning, which will increase the amount of calories their body needs. And then we would reverse diet into a maintenance phase, build up the strength, and then go into a surplus to gain some muscle lean. So by the end of this, you've lost the fat, you've increased your performance, you've overloaded, you've increased your performance, you've increased your maintenance calories, and now you're adding muscle whilst eating more food and staying very lean. That is the best strategy for fixing a skinny fat physique. Whereas if you didn't have this strategy and you just go to the gym and eat well, cut out the bad stuff, 2-3 years down the line, you can look the same. And I get this conversation a lot. I even had someone say to me that they're cutting out carbs because they want to lose their belly fat, but they're trying to get as big as possible and they're bulking, which you probably already know that's just not going to get anywhere. So having a strategy is absolutely vital. And this also helps with motivation. A lot of men feel unmotivated. That's because in the back of their mind, they already know that what they're doing might not work. So they kind of doubt the process. So why are they going to put in the work when they finished a long day of work to not even get the reward? Whereas if you've got a strategy, it's simple, you understand it, you'd be far more excited to pursue it, and you know for certainty that it's going to get you there because it's already mapped out. Now 15, this takes a while to learn, and it's very important to get your mindset right with this, and that is things won't be convenient, so you need to be adaptive. And what I mean here is when I was first starting out my training, I realized that I finished work at 10 p.m. and I got to go home and get ready for bed and get up for the next day of work. So there wasn't really a right time to go to the gym because I couldn't go early because I had to get my food prepped and cooked, and I had other things to do. I also played in a band, had a relationship, and there's actually a point when I had 3 jobs at once. So I didn't really have time for the gym. So it wasn't optimal to go at 10 or 11. Yet I realized that was the only window of opportunity I had. So I just made do because it was either go at 10 or 11 or just get stuck in the body that I already don't like, that's already affecting my mental health and confidence anyway. So I go to the gym no matter how tired I am, no matter what my food's saying, no matter how busy the gym is, I would just go at that time because it's all I had to do. Yes, it wasn't convenient, it was also the only option. So you might be thinking now, like, I don't have time for the gym, or I'm too busy, or my work commute's too long, or I don't have a set schedule. Although these things are real, genuine struggles, I'm not going to downplay them and say, oh, no excuses, bro. But the bottom line is you got to find time. You got to make do with your circumstances. Yes, it's not convenient, so be adaptive. I have clients that work incredibly long hours, have extra responsibilities. A lot of them are still studying alongside full-time work. And I even have one client that has a 4-hour commute every single day and he still finds time for the gym. It's not about convenience and having energy and making it easy. It's about getting it done regardless of your circumstances. And the sooner you learn that, the sooner you realize you can and you are able to achieve the results that you desire. Number 16 is very, very important, and that is learning how to avoid your triggers that set you off. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. I once went to Costco with my dad and I was dieting, and he bought a huge, massive industrial tray of cookies, pretty much the same one you get at Subway. And he had one of them and he goes, oh, I don't really like this, you have them. And I was like, well, I don't want 50 cookies in my house because I will want them. But he insisted, and I don't like food waste. So I'm sitting in the living room, I'm trying to diet, I'm very hungry, and I'm sat next to a tray of 50 cookies that need to be eaten. So obviously every day I'm going to fancy a cookie, and every time I have a coffee, I'm going to think about a cookie, and it becomes a habit of wanting these cookies. So what I did is I basically put them in a really inconvenient place, and I would ration out half a cookie with my coffee in the morning, half a cookie later on. They're 250 calories. I track my calories, I can fit them in. But if there was a big stack of them right next to me, do you think I'd have the willpower to say no? Probably. Over the years I've developed the discipline. But if you're starting out and struggling, it's not going to be that easy. So avoid your triggers. So it makes sense to avoid being in those circumstances where you're going to struggle. For example, a lot of my clients live in England as well. And in England, there's a big drinking culture, especially on the weekends. So what that means is the triggers are they go out and see their friends and they end up drinking 20 drinks and boozing and going way over their calories and missing their workouts on the weekends. Now, if they know that's their trigger, we can work around it. They can set a drink limit and ration them out throughout the day. They could have non-alcoholic drinks if they're really serious, so they can still socialize but stay on track with their goals. Or if we know if we go to a certain venue or certain bar, we're going to go over it, avoid that bar. Avoiding your triggers and putting in some barriers to protect your results and your consistency is vital. So many men go wrong at this point. They want to achieve a physique looking like Thor or Henry Cavill, yet they then don't even make any changes to their lifestyle or their diet. So identify what triggers or what makes you fall off and try and find a strategy to avoid them or manage them. This can literally save you years of time. Now, number 17, this is kind of obvious, but a lot of people overlook this step, and that is find what works for you. It's all well and good someone telling you that they did a run and they did fasting for 12 hours and they had some Ezekiel bread and they love tilapia fish, you might not be able to stick to it longer than a few days. And truth be told, it might be too low calorie, it might be too extreme. And genetically speaking, if you're skinny fat, you're probably going to lose muscle following a program like that. On the flip side, if I said, hey, here's the best training program, try and stick to that, and you can't stick to it, then it's useless. The best training plan in the world, if you can't do it, is a waste. The same goes for meal plans. I've been asked for meal plans hundreds of times, and I've legitimately made over 100. And I think out of the 100 I made, 2 people stuck to them. Most people aren't going to stick to a meal plan because they're boring, they're restrictive, they're not flexible, and when you realize how long you need to stick to it to actually see results, you're probably not going to want to do it. So you need to find what works for you. Some of my clients are happy eating healthy, clean foods, prepping their meals because that's what they enjoy, but some of my clients eat takeout constantly and they can't avoid it because they work with it or get free food given to them at work. So the way we work around this is we track the calories, fit it in because it works for them and they're able to get their nutrition goals whilst being flexible. If I said to you, hey, chicken, broccoli and rice every 5 meals, and you hate chicken, broccoli and rice, you're not going to stick to that diet. But if I said, oh, well, you can eat some of your favorite foods as long as they fit your calories and we have a few protein shakes to make up the difference, and you can stick to that, then that's going to be your best plan to start with right now. So find what works for you instead of being told what to do by other people. As long as you're hitting your numbers and you're seeing progress and you're reviewing things, if you can stick to it long enough to see results, then it's going to work for you. Now, number 18, this is something that I need to learn a lot more, and I find this is a very good way to stay on track, and that is learn to future pace your actions. Now, after coaching hundreds of men, when I do their check-ins, a lot of the times they tell me that they've messed up on the week, and they say things like, oh, my girlfriend ordered a takeout and I had too many beers, and that they kind of feel a bit off, and sometimes you look at the week and they haven't made any progress for that week because of these issues. Now, that's going to happen once in a while and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, but a way to fix this is learn to future pace your actions. For example, Monday last week, I was invited out to go for some drinks. So I joined to have some drinks and I said to myself, I'm going to have 3 drinks and no more. And everyone I was with was up to their 10th, 12th drink, getting absolutely wasted, having to order taxis to get home. And I slowly paced myself with 3 drinks. I was still able to go out and socialize, but I wasn't jeopardizing my progress and ruining the rest of my week by being hungover. And the reason being is I future paced my actions. I thought to myself, if I have more than 5 drinks, how am I going to feel the next day? Probably crap. Am I going to get any work done? No. Will I go to the gym? Probably not. And even if I did, I'd probably get an injury or have a really bad workout. And if I have 5 beers plus, will I go over my calories? Yes. Will that slow down my progress? Yes. So is it worth it? Hell no. But can I manage 2, 3 and fit those in my calories? I can, and I did, and I still made progress and lost 2 pounds that week. So future pacing your actions, it will really help you make the best decisions for your future. A lot of people think that they're going to see results immediately. The truth is, the transformation that you desire, that you're going to reach over time, is basically just built on a series of good decisions. So future pacing your actions by looking at the pros and cons of each decision will massively help you make the right decision and move forward a lot quicker. Number 19, now this is more mid-journey, near the end of the journey. I recommend that you stay between 12 and 16 weeks of being lean. And all that means is you never want to get too fat on a bulk that you're going to take 7, 8 months to get lean again, which means throughout the whole year, you're going to kind of be fluffy and a bit pudgy, and every time you want to go on a cut, it's going to take you longer than you think. And you kind of get stuck in this perma bulk and put off the cut, like I said at the beginning. Whereas if you do a lean bulk and you're keeping it lean throughout, you can bulk for a lot longer, but you're always going to be a few weeks away from being shredded. For example, I did a bulk for about 9 months. I've gained significant amount of weight, but kept it as lean as possible. And I've given myself 12 weeks to lean down for a festival, which means at the moment I'm on track to be in shape. Once I have the festival, I have room to have the calories, I have room to enjoy myself throughout the summer. And then after that, I can go into a lean bulk again to continue to build up some strength and size. But on the flip side, let's say I had 40, 50 pounds to lose. I wouldn't be lean in time. The festival would slow down my progress, and then it would get into winter and I'd think, what's the point? And you kind of get stuck in this cycle of just not committing to the cut long enough to actually see it through. So once you've done a cut and you've done a bulk, try and keep it lean, because then you're always a few weeks away from being shredded, which means photos, family events, weddings, in my case with bands, photo shoots and music videos, or even just being on YouTube, and it's just a lot easier to be within that range. Number 20, don't make knee-jerk reactions to your plan. It's very easy to stick to a plan, do it for a few weeks and get bored or be excited by another shiny object or another plan. Now, I had a client come to me a few years ago and he said to me his biggest struggle was that he keeps jumping from plan to plan, so he wasn't seeing any consistent results because there was no structure, no strategy, and he just kept bouncing around. Ironically, he stuck to the plan I gave him for 3 weeks and then tried doing something else, which means he's not made any progress at all. Whereas the clients that you see of the transformations on screen, they've basically followed 1 to maybe 2 plans throughout the whole journey. In fact, Reese followed 1 plan and lost all the body fat and gained muscle. The only thing we tweaked was his numbers and calories, a small amount of tweaks to his training, but essentially the plan was the same throughout. The problem is, fitness industry is boring, there's not that much to talk about, and everyone wants to make things up to make it sound exciting and new to get your attention. The bottom line is the basics work. Once you've got your plan, stick to it and don't get distracted by all the other noise out there. Even if the person promoting it looks incredible, 9 times out of 10 it's not even what they're doing. They've just made something up exciting to sell you because they've got an audience to sell to. Number 21, it's a big lesson here, aggressive patience. Now, what this means is you need to be patient. It takes time to reach your goals. It's not going to happen in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 5-second abs or any bullshit people tell you on the internet. Most people in my experience, I would say the sweet spot is around 9 months, and that's if they've got me as their coach and they're smashing it and doing it right. If you're doing it on your own, it could take a few years, and I'll be honest with you, been in the industry for a long time, I've seen a lot of people spend 8 years and still get nowhere. So you need to be patient, but the aggression with the patience is aggressively show up to make progress happen. Because if you're just being patient and you're half-assing it and going slow and steady wins the race, oh, I'm getting there slowly, one day I'm getting there, 8 years goes by and you've been going so slow that you haven't got there. So if you're waking up with urgency and you're attacking the day and you're winning and you're hitting your targets, but you're also being patient, knowing it's going to take time, you're going to win and get there, and it's going to compound over time, and it's going to suddenly catch up with you, and you're going to be, wow, I can't believe how far I've come. Aggressive patience is important. The people that join and try and get results immediately never do, and the guys that are too patient and slow never have any urgency and they run out of time. And the last point, and this is so important, and I can't stress this enough, and this is why I recommend you do not take steroids. Number 22, the journey is the reward. And the reason the journey is the reward is because you've earned it. It's not the muscles and the low body fat and the physique that's going to give you the confidence. Yes, it's going to make you feel better about yourself. Yes, you're going to look better, which is going to give you a little bit of a confidence boost, but it's the pride of achievement that's going to make you feel amazing. You've been the one who said no to all the temptations that everyone else gave into. You've been the one who's gone to the gym when you didn't feel like it. You've been the one who's pushed yourself harder than last time. That's not a Greg Doucette reference. Harder than last time! You're the one who has achieved that physique regardless of anyone else. You've put in the effort, you've done it, it's your accomplishment. Now, if you were to take steroids, sure, you might look great and you'll definitely be confident, but when you stop taking them, you're going to shrink and you're going to feel like shit, and by comparison, you're not going to like training without them, which means you're always going to be dependent on them. And if you're dependent on them, most of your progress in physique is going to be built on the fact you've taken a drug or a shortcut or whatever you want to refer to it as. And a lot of people I know personally that do take steroids are still very much insecure, and I believe that stems from the fact that they know deep down all the praise and recognition they get for their physique wasn't really entirely down to their hard work. Now, that's not to discredit people on steroids. I don't have beef with people on steroids. I'm talking from personal experience. I wouldn't bother with them. I considered taking steroids when I was younger because my progress is slow. I've got shit genetics, and I thought, if I do this, I will look incredible. But then I realized I don't want to shorten my lifespan for a bit of extra muscle. Plus, being a coach, I think it's very unethical to take steroids and then coach people how to build muscle without him, because it's kind of like using the escalator to get up a mountain and going, right, guys, use the stairs. You've taken a different route to the other people you're teaching. It's just unethical in my opinion. But not only that, I now look in the mirror and the physique that I've built, I'm incredibly proud of because it's entirely down to my hard work. And when my friends and family say, oh, you're looking good, I can say, thank you, because I've done it myself. I work my ass off. Instead of going, yeah, by the way, I'm taking drugs. So yeah, probably not as impressed now, are you? Do you know what I mean? That might be a personal thing, but I recommend you stay natural. It's healthier, better for you in the long run. You'll keep and sustain your physique a lot better. But the most important thing is you will actually feel tremendously confident with yourself. Now, I hope those 22 lessons helped you out. If I was given these lessons earlier on, it would have saved me about 6 years, 7 years of faff and a lot of frustration. Make sure you download your nutritional blueprint if you don't know your numbers. And if you want results like my clients have gotten by following the exact same strategies and having me help you employ them, you can click the link below to book a call with me, or you can drop me a message on Instagram at Elite Transformation Project. And if you want to know a little bit more about what goes into my clients' transformations, you can watch this video right here.